Google's DeepMind unit this week offering up data files of its best guess of the structure of some proteins that may be implicated in the coronavirus. Tiernan Ray is here with us to talk a little bit more in depth about this. So just tell us kind of an overview here, Tiernan, of what Google's up to.
Karen, it's been about 60 years of biologists trying to figure out the structure of proteins, which are the workhorse of any organism. And last week, Google's DeepMind unit announced that they took the same technology that had been used to win at the game of Go and at chess, called originally AlphaZero, and they now have applied this to some of the molecules that may be involved in coronavirus, and they're offering this up to the world as models for how these proteins in the virus may function, so that presumably more tests can be developed and also more cures possibly. And the interesting thing is that they wouldn't have been able to do this if they just started from scratch trying to figure out what molecules are like. They actually benefited from these decades and decades worth of research by scientists around the world.
Yeah, so as you mentioned and talk about in the article, we're talking about 6 decades worth of data curation from around the world. So how is it possible that they can do this?
They've had storehouses of data about molecules, Karen, that have been gathered in a couple of places. One is an organization called UniProt, which is a consortium of research institutions such as the Department of Energy. It's funded by a whole bunch of places such as the National Science Foundation. And they have data that has been gathered experimentally about what are the amino acids that go into a protein, the chains of amino acids. There's another place called Protein Data Bank that actually stores structures that have been found experimentally about proteins. Using these two sources, Google was able to train this neural network. What they do basically is they take the amino acid sequence of one protein, and then they take from Protein Data Bank the final structure, the three-dimensional structure, and they say, how is it that the first part, the amino acids, end up being the second part, the three-dimensional folded structure? And by developing their neural network to see the correlation between these two, they then come up with a kind of an algorithm that can say, okay, for any string of amino acids, we can then predict how it's likely to take a three-dimensional form. And so what they're doing with these coronavirus molecules is they're saying, if we now know experimentally what the virus's strings of amino acids are, we can come up with a likely prediction for what the three-dimensional folded structure of the protein looks like, because we've trained on these decades worth of data that were gathered.
Very interesting. All right. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens, Tiernan. Obviously, we're all just kind of trying to react here to this, not really sure what's going to happen or what we're supposed to do. But
yeah, I think it's an instance of everyone wants to be somehow involved and feel that they're doing the right thing. And efforts like these are fascinating. We just don't know until they're taken and developed if they're going to lead to more diagnostics or possibly a cure. We don't know yet.
yeah, definitely. Well, certainly worth the efforts on their part. Tiernan, thank you so much for that. And for much more on Tiernan's full article, you can check that out at ZDNet. Thanks for watching.